our Poetry Town Council meeting of our beautiful town of Poetry, Texas on this Monday night, February 13th, 2023. We welcome you and want you to feel heard, valued, informed, and connected to your town and its council. We welcome diversity of opinion and want minority views as well as majority views to be heard. We also appreciate mutual respect despite opposing view. Your opinions, suggestions, and comments in favor of or against a topic are welcome. However, your questioning and interrogations will not be acknowledged. This is a town council meeting and not a courtroom. At this time, I need to remind the public that a disruption of this meeting may be considered a criminal offense according to the Texas Penal Code 3813 and 4205. You must be signed up to speak during the meeting and stay on topic according to state law. To preserve the order and decorum of the meeting, any person who makes profane, slanderous, threatening remarks or becomes disruptive during the meeting will be asked to leave or may be escorted out by a peace officer and given a citation. At this time, our new City Secretary, Jana Shelton, will take roll call.
Here.
Simeon Watt,
Here.
Terry Fowler,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Tom Anderson,
Here.
Brian Benson,
Here.
and Mayor Tara Simkovic.
Here. At this time, Councilmember Fowler will lead us in our pledge and our invocation.
If you'll join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. If you'll join me with prayer. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this day and thank you for all the people that have joined tonight, Lord, and thank you for those that couldn't, Lord. We just thank you for our town and what you're doing for us. We pray your blessings over this town and over this meeting, Lord. We just ask that you lead us and help us to keep you in our forethoughts, Lord, and we just ask that you just pour your blessings out on this little town. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Okay, we're going to go ahead and go to F, our special agenda. Discuss and take action on hiring Teresa Scholander as Deputy City Secretary. So as you know, we hired Ms. Jana Shelton as our part-time City Secretary. She comes with a wealth of knowledge. I'm so grateful. She does have 16 grandchildren. The reason that she retired from a full schedule for the city of Crandall was she wanted to spend more time with them, and so she's spending about 2 days a week on Wednesdays and Fridays with our town, and then doing a little bit of work at home. But and she knew the accounting at Crandall, but our accounting software is different. We use QuickBooks, and so. Because of the two reasons. One is she's not wanting to spend, I think her first check among 2 weeks was about 16 hours, so that averaged about 8 hours. And then also the fact that Teresa had reached out around the same time and on the 24th and was saying, you know, she's kind of having a hard time dealing with being at home full time after being, you know, doing so much for years. She said, keep me in mind, especially accounting. She goes, I don't know why it hurts so much, and I don't want to get too personal, but she's, you know, because of her health issues, we've been kind of going back and forth. But she did, after I realized that Jana didn't have the QuickBooks knowledge, I did reach out to Teresa, and she is interested in doing, you know, the up to 5 hours a week to just focus on, and she's a whiz at it. That is her forte. She is really a whiz at the numbers. And so she said, of course, she does have COVID tonight, and so she's not able to be here, although she wanted to be. So, but in order to, and so we have it maybe figured out where she can also cross-train Miss Jana on, you know, the QuickBooks. So we have that. That would be a plus. I did catch up. I spent because we have Jana, I'm able to spend a little more time on the books, so I did catch up the accounting. We were able to get the 1099s done, and I did catch up 3 months' worth of account reconciliations, and so we're getting there. But just having Jana here to do all of this paperwork is just such a wonderful thing. So it's just a lot. There's just a lot of work to be had, and so, but hopefully if we were to vote in Teresa, we could have her come in once a week and just, it might be 30 minutes, it might be an hour, it might be 2 hours, depending on what's needed. She could just knock it out and keep abreast of all of that, because, I mean, I was able to do it in a few hours, but, I had to let something else go to be able to do that. So, and I'd like to go ahead and the goal is, of course, to have all the financials, in perfect order, as much as possible. And so if she can be there once a week on a regular basis to do that very thing, I think it would really help us. And she's willing to do that. Now, the week that Jana is here for a meeting, of course, she might have a 4-hour meeting or 5 hours, depending on for a setup and takedown. Then that would be a week that perhaps Teresa wouldn't come in, because with her 4 or 5 hours on Wednesdays and Fridays with a 5-hour meeting, then that would meet the maximum of 15 hours. And I really think it's doable just to have her come in 3 weeks out of the month, one day, and just, we don't have a lot of transactions. I mean, in my business, we have 50 to 100 transactions a day. In our other company, we have that in a month, but in our town, that's like 3 months worth. So it's really not a lot, but it does need to be kept up.
I think, Tara, of all the things we spend money on, the secretary, especially here at the end of the year, of the term and all of that, I think pushing it a little bit on spending on the secretary would be a good thing in my mind. Let's make sure the books are caught up. Let's make sure all the documentation is caught up, all the information requests are caught up. So I think, I think we've underspent, haven't we, on the secretary for the year?
Well, since we were without one for 13 months, yes.
Right. So I'm thinking
Yes.
we can push it a little bit. So
Yeah.
I think, and I'm in favor of adding Teresa back on a part-time basis. I think that would be amazing, because otherwise I think we're going to hinge on overwhelming Jana a little bit, just because we've got the bookkeeping, we've got, all the election stuff, and then after
Right.
election, and then the new council. I mean, it's going to be a
Right.
busy 3 or 4 months, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
I guess I'd add, I agree with you, and I think also add, she's very confident, Teresa, and then I can also imagine Jana is maybe gonna wanna travel or take a vacation from time to time, and so it would be great to have somebody else that can
Yep.
fill in.
Yeah, backup is
So
good.
I'm all in favor of Teresa, this position.
I agree with the comments. My concern is Teresa did come on and she did have to leave us. Are we sure that she's, first off, that this is the right thing for her? I don't want to get into, as you were saying, I don't want to get into the personal side of it, but, is this something that she would actually be allowed to do? And, how confident are we that she would be able to fulfill the duties if we bring her back?
I'm not sure, but she wants to do it badly. She did ask her husband, and he said, okay, just not more than 5 hours a week. He wants to make sure. And part of the problem was he didn't want her driving at night, and a night meeting's a problem for her. And just sitting still for 4 or 5 hours, it was a problem on her back. And so that was, 2 big problems. And then just when she was here for 3.5 months, it was intense. It was very intense. Catching up the books, all the FEC disbursements. We had the audit, and then the election stuff. It was intense. It was an intense time. But, thank God we had her. So,
And she's going to be I believe she's going to be second in command to Jana, right? Jana's going to be she's just going to be there to help kind of fill in.
That's right, and that's why we have to call her a deputy, because
Right.
the duties she's gonna be doing.
She's
are
already
things-
trained, so we've
Right.
gone through that. So if we get her 5 hours one week and an hour next week, whatever, I think we take what we can get.
Well, I think it's very important right now because, the books have to be caught up and you guys have to look at a budget versus actual, so all that has to happen pretty quick.
Right, so
Yeah.
I think, I appreciate your comments, Brian, but I say we take what we get, you know, if we only get an hour, we get an hour, if we get 5 hours, we get 5 hours, whatever we get's a blessing, so.
Exactly, better than
so we
nothing.
take it.
And, you know, I've had a few people reach out to me about budget specifically, and I think the citizens, at least the ones reaching out to me, would appreciate, you know, just absolute clarity and precision as far as, you know, budgeting and our spending and our reports
Right.
and that. So I think spending a little more to that is probably a good use of our money.
Yep.
Okay, so we have citizen Tracy Hibbs. I only see citizen Tracy Hibbs on number 1. I will remind you, if you are going to speak, please be on deck so we can save time.
Tracy Hibbs, County Road 2432. Was there a posting for the deputy secretary? No? Okay. So I went back and through my notes, and I realized that Ms. Scholander had a resignation letter. So when I went back through the town notes, it's disappeared. So that's not there. I know that she probably quit because of personal reasons, and that's fine. But the fact of the matter is that Teresa was here in October when the bank ending balance was one figure. She was also here in November when the bank beginning balance was different than the October ending balance. That's yet to be corrected as of 5 o'clock today. So when you are talking about hiring somebody, I know we have the budget for it, and that's great, but I think we need to take all things into consideration when you're hiring, because you haven't put this out there for public hire. Thanks.
Thanks, Tracy.
Okay, we have in the past done that and got nobody, so anyway, I think it's like I said, the time that she was here, it was very, very intense. There was a lot. It was very overwhelming for both of us. So we're gonna, we're just gonna move ahead. So, okay.
Are we obligated to post it?
No.
State law, state statute?
I'd like to ask a question, Jenna.
Of Jana? Okay.
So, Jana, just for our understanding, kind of to Tracy's comment, so you're not proficient in QuickBooks, I guess, in the actual software, but how are you at looking at financial reports and sort of understanding what the city's reporting
Right.
should look like?
Actually, it was Encode software that we had,
Okay,
and Encode is a little more intense than QuickBooks, so I don't think it's gonna be really hard for me to learn QuickBooks, but in this situation that we're in right now, we need to have stuff done real quick.
right.
Yes, I have looked at budgets and financials. I was held to the fire on many projects and budgets, and so I'm familiar with accounting and accounting codes and how to code those invoices and watch your balance and make sure you're in balance and you're not overspending on a line item. You know, all these things were under me, so
Right.
yes, I'm very familiar with budgets.
Yeah, because I guess I would want whatever Teresa is doing to fall in line with what you expect us to have as a town with regards to budgets and year-to-date performance and accounts and, all of that. And I think that's some of the confusion that we've had with citizens that have, I know they've reached out to me as well about, where are we on spending? Where are we on, I see the little kind of bank statement thing, but that doesn't tell me year-to-date on a project or on a budget code or whatever, so.
And that's where we want to get really fast.
Okay,
is
so
when
you feel like
can
if
see.
she's behind you doing the QuickBooks stuff and helping to generate reports, then you can help
Yes,
make sure that that comes to us in a kind of a nice presentation that's gonna flow throughout the year.
should be really self-explanatory once we get there.
Well, now that we've caught up, like I said, I was able, because Janice here, I was able to catch up with the account reconciliations. Then the next step would be to be able to print those reports. That's, the hard part is just entering everything and getting the reconciliations. So once those are, now that those are done, then, you know, I don't know if, when Teresa could possibly, you know, be here, but she can keep it up, you know, but, I expect.
Well, and I would expect that
yeah.
as Teresa's helping, Jana's coming up
Sure.
to speed.
Sure,
And at some point, she would have some ability, right,
Sure.
to play in the QuickBooks realm,
Oh, yeah.
so.
Having been a city manager, is there a requirement for us to post this publicly, this job?
It depends on if you have that in your personnel manual, which, you know,
We
you
don't.
don't have a personnel manual.
we don't have one.
So you're not required. If you did have a personnel manual that stated that those jobs would be posted, yes, you'd be tied to that.
And the personnel manual, is that something you could help us with?
After the
There's a lot
election.
of behind-the-scenes stuff that needs to be
Right,
added.
once
so-
you start having
okay.
employees, then.
I don't want to drift us too far off the
Well, we
the
don't have
agenda
any
item, but-
employees, so, I mean, like, I have an employee handbook, but we don't have any employees. We have contracted labor.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's one step at a time.
Yep.
It goes.
Okay, so,
need
is there a motion?
I make a motion, we accept Teresa as the, I believe it's a deputy secretary, the position.
Deputy City Secretary, part-time.
Yes.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, second by White, to accept Teresa Scholander as Deputy City Secretary. All those in favor? And that passes 4-0. Okay,
4-1.
4-1. Okay. Discuss and take action on the order of election for Kaufman County. So we have order of election that is pretty, again, I'm really grateful to Jana for tackling all this in English and Spanish. It's basically the language that shows, you know, it's the mayor and 5 council members ordering the election, and it tells the early voting location, Kaufman County Library at 3790 South Houston Street, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 p.m. And then it tells the locations, April 24th through the 28th, 8 to 5 p.m. And it has several locations there. The Terrell Sub Courthouse, the Kemp Sub Courthouse, the Crandall Combine Community Center, the Maybank City Hall, Kaufman County Library, and the Forney Sub Courthouse. And then it goes on. Any comments on this one?
Again, this was one that I was confused about since it has the order of elections and it has a place for people to, for the name order. But do we, what are we passing this for right now if it's not for having the names, the name order?
The name order has to be, it's done later. This is just saying that we want the election to occur. And
So-
then we have to sign it.
Yeah, so if I read that right, it says list of offices, propositions and measures. So if we had more than just offices, say we had a tax on there, there would be 5 councilmen and a mayor. It would be, it's everything that, a ballot measure that's gonna be on that ballot. That's how I read it.
So when we did the sales and use tax, we had, you know, had each of you sign it. So we just have to approve that and you guys sign it.
So to Brian's point, when would the other sheet come out with the possible candidates?
Janet could answer that.
Okay, so you guys are talking about the drawing for the place on ballot. Once February 17th gets here and it's 5 o'clock and we have enough people for an election, then we'll do a drawing for a place on the ballot. I'll have to post that and then actually it will be at City Hall and you guys can come up and draw for a place on the ballot. And that's when you find out who falls where on the ballot. Otherwise, if there's not, you know, say we have enough for an election, but not an extra person, then you're in. So otherwise, we wouldn't have a drawing.
So at that point, there's no election. If 5 people run for council and 1 mayor, then
then there's no cost for an election.
That's true.
And that happened in Union Valley and other places, yeah.
Ooh, spending no money.
It saved quite a bit of money, actually.
Okay, so at this point, do you foresee that there's going to be more than 5 people?
Okay,
running?
we're a little bit off topic.
If there's not going to be enough people, then it makes a difference as to whether or not we pass this.
No, it doesn't. We have to do this anyway.
Yeah, you have
If
to
there's
go
not going to be an election,
We
you
have
have
to
to
do
still
this
file
anyway.
the order of election?
You still have to,
Yes.
Okay,
yeah.
You have to go through all the motions and then, you know,
Yeah.
we'll find out. if we
okay.
have
The
to
deadline
lost or
hasn't
not.
happened
Yeah.
yet anyways, so.
That's why I'm,
It's confusing.
it is, and it's the deadline of passing this when we have a meeting again next week versus waiting until after the deadline
It's,
of filing. So that's what's confusing to me.
And all this has to be turned in by Friday too, right? Yeah.
yes, all
Or before then, yeah.
applications have to be turned in by 5 Friday.
Seeing, okay.
Public comment?
Tracy Hibbs? Again, please be on deck if you're going to speak, okay?
So the original posting for the first filing date was filed 36 days after December the 19th. 5 days after the filing date for candidacy, and then the wrong address was posted on the website.
Okay, any other comments? We've already addressed all that. All right, is there a motion for this order of election?
Sure, I'll make a motion, we accept the order of election. I guess this case is First Kaufman County.
For Kaufman, And a second?
Second.
Did he get it? Okay, so we have a motion by Anderson, second by White, to accept this order of election for the town of Poetry and Kaufman County voters. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, and moving on to the order of election for Hunt County. Okay, we have the order of election for Hunt County. It has the mayor and 5 council members, 2217 Washington in Greenville, Texas, Monday April 24th through Friday, April 28th, 8 to 5 p.m. And then there's no weekend voting here because I believe it's because it's at the church. And it just talks about Jeannie Nash is the early voting clerk, and then that's issued. The interesting thing to me is that these just both have the early voting and not the actual day, but Jan and I talked about that, and it's strange, but that's the way it is. Okay, is there a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the order of election for Hunt County.
Second.
We have,
No citizen.
Oh, you know what? It's stuck together. We do have Ms. Hibbs. Did you want to speak again? Okay. All right, say that again. Sorry.
Make a motion, we accept the general order election for Hunt County as shown.
You have a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Vinson, to accept the order of election for Hunt County. All those in favor? And that passes 5-0. Okay, number 4, discuss and take action on ordinance number 2023-201, providing for and establishing procedures for the May 6th general election to elect a mayor and 5 council members in Kaufman County. And this is our internal document that we need to have for this. And so they do have to be separated. So one is just basically saying, and our attorney did look at this, is for expiring terms by the qualified voters of the town of Poetry, establishing procedures for the election in Kaufman County. So, and it provides the early voting locations publication and notice of election.
I guess my only comment.
We
is
did
to
edit that.
Be clear is Kaufman County does not vote at Faith Temple, they vote at the office, the main office in Kaufman County, correct, Tar?
There are like 26 places in Kaufman County to vote on Election Day. So one of the main ones that I hear about people here is the Emmanuel Baptist Church on Highway 34, and then the bingo, and then there's also Able Springs Fire Department. So that's where a lot of the folks from Poetry actually do vote. But if we were to have our own spot here in Poetry, it would be an upcharge, and so I figured we're not trying to do an upcharge. And it basically says a mayor and 5 town council members to serve a 2-year term until May 2025 or until their successors are duly elected and qualified. Such election shall take place on the 6th day of May 2023 between the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. And then your order of election is like an exhibit to that, so that we have a record in our city record, records of this. Any comments? Kevin Sinkovich? Okay. Tracy Hibbs?
Tracy Hibbs, 9441 County Road 2432. So you just passed 2 election orders, one for Kaufman County and one for Hunt County. Do you realize to circumvent an election irregularity, it can be contested in district court? It probably will be, because you've not allowed the right amount of time for candidates to get the information they needed to file. What happens when this occurs and it goes to district court is there's a re-election, which will cost us a substantial amount of more money. So before you vote on any of this other stuff, you need to take that into consideration. Also, the council, the whole council, would be held responsible for that election irregularity.
We have talked to the Secretary of State on that already.
So, yeah, when I talked to the Secretary of State, they said that basically we just need to make sure that if people have, that people have an appropriate amount of time to file. And that would include potentially signing up after the deadline, or we do face a lawsuit. So, yeah, we would need to make sure that we extend the ability to file, by a reasonable time.
And what is considered reasonable time?
Well,
If we were
definitely
5 days
before.
late, then we would add 5 days, I
Yeah,
mean,
what-
whatever it is.
What's,
The
If-
counties don't allow that. The county
yeah,
elections
we
wouldn't
would-
allow
It
that.
would have to be before the county deadline for turning in the information.
When is the county deadline, Jana?
5 o'clock
You know.
on February the 17th.
Is their
when we
deadline?
Received the last
Yeah.
application for place on the ballot according
Yeah.
to the Secretary of State. You have to do that. There is a write-in candidacy that's available 5 days later. I believe, I have to look at the election calendar, but a write-in candidacy is available for people that don't make that deadline on the 17th.
So we'll definitely have to make sure we're on top of this for the next election, but yeah, this time it's gonna be dicey.
Well, hopefully we'll have a city secretary at that time, and that can, happen. Yep. Okay, so,
Well, is there any other remedies? It's not like can we not have this election and then call a special election? I mean, I don't want to get sued in district court.
no,
we
that,
talked to our lawyer about this too, whenever we can't quote executive session, but the idea was that we got to allow people in later. And it sounds like the cutoff is 5 days, which is what the Secretary of State said as well. So if we got the Secretary of State and our lawyer saying it, I guess that's the best we have to go off of, is we accept it as late as we can, which it sounds like it's 5 days.
So it has been posted online, and it has been posted in the newsletter.
Yeah, but there's official posting requirements. I mean, so we have to make,
Right.
we know that we did wrong in this one. We have to face up to that, but, I mean, there is a deadline imposed on us, so.
Right. I mean, each county's election division has to do they have to, get their ballots all printed and all of, there's just a lot of steps. So we can't hold up their printing of ballots, and that's the main thing.
Yeah, but,
Just something to strive for in the future, I think is
Yeah,
what Brian's saying.
absolutely.
Is next time around, we'll know to make sure and post this much quicker.
much quicker.
So
yes.
I don't know the detail that Tracy was laying out. I don't know if she wants to come back and share it, but I get the 5 days, but I don't get the 36 days or whatever. So was there something we were supposed to have turned in?
Yeah,
Well, the city, the city secretary is required to post the application for signing up to be on the ballot. And so that not having a city secretary, that's impossible for us to do.
and since Tara, presumably, I don't want to put words in her mouth, is going to be on the ballot, she couldn't post it herself as mayor. So we didn't have anybody in an official
And
capacity
that was
that
supposed to
could do
happen
it.
a month ago or?
In January.
A week ago?
It
Okay.
was supposed to happen 30 days
was- yeah.
before the first day
That
that
you
you
could
could
register,
apply.
yeah.
And I will tell you, the election division sent us information, it was pretty late, it was like on the 12th of December, but there was,
Well, you got Dorothy Dillon working, you got Lauren working, you got all these people working, but you couldn't get this done.
I can't, I legally can't, so you need to understand that, it has to come from the city secretary.
We shouldn't be talking back and forth.
Yeah, all right, well, we're going to move on. So the ordinance that's before us, if we're going to have an election, we do have to pass this.
Okay, I make a motion, we accept the ordinance for Garfield County as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second?
Which ordinance number are we voting on?
It's 2023-0201. Okay, we have a motion to accept the ordinance 2023-0201. Is there, by Anderson and seconded by White, is there, all those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, we have another ordinance for Hunt County, and that's 2023-0202. And it's very similar, but it has their location in Hunt County and the dates. Okay, Kevin Sinkovich. Tracy Hibbs. Okay, any conversation on this one? At this one, it shows that on Election Day, the hours of 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. at the Faith Temple Baptist Church at this location. And it just talks about early voting times, and then publication and posting of the election, severability, effective date. Is there a motion?
I make a motion, we accept the ordinance 2023-0202 for Hunt County presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by Vinson, to accept the ordinance number 2023-0202. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, now discuss and take action on the 2023 general election contract with Kaufman County. Now, this was a draft. You will, they were giving us an opportunity to check for typos and that kind of thing. We did try to do that. You'll see it still says draft. We are required to, once they send the final one, I haven't seen that yet, then we will have to sign this. It's just basically saying that we will pay for the election. And last fall, it was $575 for our portion with Kaufman County. So, is there any conversation on this?
So are we approving the draft, or are we waiting until we get the final copy?
Well, it's basically saying that the council agrees to, we did, the attorney did look at this. He says really on the election contracts with the elections divisions, there's not a lot that we can even tweak. We're just basically making sure that, it says Town of Poetry versus City of Poetry and those kind of things. Just, we're making sure that it's correct for our portion of it. Because as you can see, the contract is with all these other towns and ISDs and emergency service districts, and so.
Berman did review and approve on the,
I'm pardon?
Berman did.
Yes, so our attorney Berman did look at it, and he said, there's not a lot that, as an attorney, that he can change on this. Just, we're checking to make sure that there aren't any, typos or things in the contract that need to be remedied.
Gotcha.
I guess, Tara, my only point, I guess it raises the exhibits, A, C, and D. I didn't get, is that something that comes later?
What are you referring to? Can
The
you answer that,
exhibits
Janet?
are the voting locations, so.
Yeah, A is early voting schedule and locations. B is election day vote center locations. C is cost of services, and D is list of political subdivisions, races on ballot. Now, I realize this is a draft, but I didn't get any of the, those four attachments.
Well, and I know there's another document, like I said, the elections is very detailed, but I know that, like, the order of election is mainly for the early voting, but then there's another one that will cover all the, I just remember this from the last time, it has all the voting locations the day of, and that one had 26 for Kaufman County, and I think that will be probably something that
Right, it's
we'll have to
probably
work
gonna
on
be in the final.
in the final draft.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Janet, I know that the Kaufman and Hunt want us to try and sign this. I think the deadline is the 24th, I believe. So on this one, we could actually wait until the 21st meeting if we wanted to, I guess, and see the final. But just so you all see that, I feel like we could wait on that one. On the Hunt elections.
Well, let's not skip the agenda items.
Yeah. So is there any other comments? Kevin, did you want to, okay. Tracy Hibbs? Okay. Any other comments on that?
Yeah, okay, you said we can wait until the 21st, but that just adds an agenda item on to next week. So do we expect that there's going to be a substantial change from that draft to what's coming up?
I don't anticipate a change. I do anticipate maybe a little more detailed at the end, the addendums
Yes,
and everything.
The final will have all the attachments.
Yeah, I was interested in those exhibits, like Mr. Tom, especially the cost of services, which I don't agree to before I've seen them.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we can wait, I know it's an extra item, but
We're at 11
I think
right
that's
now.
our due diligence.
Okay.
I guess, Tara, are you sure we don't have to vote on this tonight?
Well, they wanted us to proof it last week, but as far as I think the deadline was the 24th, I believe. Do you remember, Jana?
I think that is correct, if you wanted to put that one on.
We could put it on the 21st and still be okay.
I guess we could also say that we approve this section of the document that we have thus far and not exhibit A through D, since we don't have that. You know, I wouldn't want to approve something I haven't seen.
But I guess, Simeon,
It would have-
that's kind of a conditional, a
Yeah.
big conditional approval.
At
Yeah, I
that
don't
point, it's
think
going to
we
have to be
can-
an agenda item next week.
Yeah, I
anyway.
think we're gonna
That
have
is
to.
very true.
We might as well.
Yeah.
By the way, I read it, I didn't see any typos, but, I mean, doesn't mean there isn't any, it's just I didn't see any.
Okay. Do you guys want to council want to wait until next week?
Yeah, I move that we move this to next week's agenda.
Okay, that'll make number 12. All right, all those, do we have a second on that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion by Benson, a second by Anderson to move this for next week's meeting. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay, moving on to number 7, discuss and take action on the 2023 general election contract for Hunt County. Now, Hunt County didn't say it was a draft, did they, Janet? I didn't see that they said it was a draft.
No, they should have all the attachments with it.
And so they do have all the they have the signature page for each representative from each entity. So it covers City of Josephine, City of Hawk Cove, City of Greenville, City of Celeste, Campbell, and then we're on there, of course. You know, all these entities, and then it talks about the voting locations, the judges, and how the judge and election clerks will receive $15 per hour for a maximum of 15 hours. The presiding election judge or election clerk will receive an additional $25 as flat rate. Compensation for delivering election returns and supplies to the Hunt County Elections Administrator Office is after the polls close. And then several pages here, talks about the counting station manager is Jeannie Ash, elections administrator. Tabulation supervisor is Brenda Weston. The presiding judge is Larry Mayo. And then, of course, it lists the early voting times. Talks about the contractual duties performed, allocation of cost, records of the election. Anybody have any comments?
I didn't see any typos or anything like that. And they do have 2 exhibits, A2 and A1 and A2.
And it does say here on item 18, it says it is understood by the entity that the actual expenses for this election may exceed the estimate. Now, I haven't received an estimate yet. That usually comes a little later. It is further understood by the entity that this estimate is based on the participation of other entities in this election. That's why they don't really know, because they have to get all the signatures back, and then they can determine that. If one or more of the other entities chooses not to participate, or if they cancel their election as allowed by law, their share of the total election expenses will be distributed among the other participating entities. In the event that the entity disputes any portion of the charges, fees, or costs payable under this contract, the entity agrees to promptly pay the undisputed amounts when due.
So Tara, is this also a draft or is this a final?
This is not a draft. This is,
Okay.
they were sending
Well,
their
then I see
final.
no reason to postpone it till next meeting. I think we can vote.
Yep, I think we can too.
Public comment?
We have, there's no number 7
We don't have
here.
a 7. Anybody sign up for 7?
Oh, here it is. I'm sorry. Kevin Sinkovich? Okay. Tracy Hibbs? Okay. Is there a motion?
Make a motion, we accept the election services contract with Hunt County as shown.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Anderson, seconded by, was that White? Okay, seconded by White. All those in favor? And that passes unanimously. Okay. All right, well, moving on to general public comments. Kevin Sinkovich passes. Chad McFarland?
I printed out a copy of my comments in case I get interrupted. Chad McFarland, 19850 FM 986. Gentlemen of the council, at last month's meeting, Tara made some disturbing allegations about Commissioner Terry Barber in regards to the interlocal agreement between Kaufman County and Poetry. I reached out to Commissioner Barber for clarification and to get his version of events. Tara, I believe he called you after one of our conversations. I was made aware of an upcoming meeting regarding the interlocal agreement. I requested to be present at that meeting so I could observe the process myself. I was pleased to learn the county officials were welcome and open to having the process as a government observed by a concerned citizen. I wasn't surprised when Tara was the only one that voiced an objection to my presence, and I unsuccessfully attempted to have information in the meeting. I have several takeaways from that meeting. First, Terry Barber is not the problem. I'd also like to say that I don't think it's proper for Tara to use her position as mayor and speak during a council meeting urging citizens to vote for a different candidate for county commissioner. It's a long-standing policy of Kaufman County not to perform maintenance in any incorporated areas. The method that Kaufman County uses to calculate costs to perform road maintenance is the same for every town in Kaufman County. At a prior meeting, Commissioner Barber apparently incorrectly used the term illegal when it came to his inability to perform maintenance in Poetry without being paid by the town. He informed us that word choice was based on faulty legal advice. I think every one of you can sympathize with receiving faulty legal advice as an elected official. Regardless of what language he used at a prior meeting, it doesn't change the fact that he is simply following longstanding county policy and that Poetry is receiving the same deal as every town in Kaufman County. Now, Commissioner Barber did make what I consider the very valuable suggestion of presenting information to the County Commissioners Court in an attempt to get county policy changed and possibly get some funding for County Road 249. He offered to place this item on the Commissioners Court agenda as soon as the town is ready to make a presentation. I've asked to be notified if this is ever on the agenda so that I can speak in favor of such a proposal. I feel that the citizens of Poetry would be better served by trying to build working relationships with county officials rather than sitting here in meetings and advocating for their replacement. Oh, and that drainage issue that you let them know about on Friday, there was a crew out there this morning fixing it.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you.
I will correct something. So it is false that I was trying to kick him out of that meeting. I was just inquiring if it was legal or not. Okay, that's not what I said. You're out of line. Okay. I also wanted to correct, Tracy, you're out of line. When we had our initial meeting a year ago in December, we had a presentation just like what we had for Hunt County. And I did call Commissioner Barber and we talked about it and we had a very good conversation and I did apologize to him. But here's the thing, he didn't realize that his attorneys had changed the agreement. And I told him that it was changed by the time it came back to us. So we had a very good conversation. And I told him that, you know what, I will try and make that right. If he was unaware, then I will try to make that right. So I stand here before you, or sit here before you, is, you know what, he was unaware that his legal counsel had changed it. And so for that, I concede that he was unaware. So I just want to clear the record on that. But I do think our citizens need to be aware in full transparency. We are trying to get the best arrangement for our roads and for our citizens. Just like Other attorneys have said, you know what, if there's a pass-through road, then that can be up to 60% pass-through for your area, then the counties can meet that 60%. So that is something that we'll be looking at. But we're going to stick to the facts, and the next, we'll be presenting that when it comes in the future. Next person, Shelley Smith.
Hey, so several months ago, I talked to you guys with a couple of ideas of things that I think that the town had ought to incorporate. And I was met with lots of smiles and nods and everything, but nothing was done. So tonight, I'm going to respectfully request 2 items to be placed on the next possible agenda. Number 1 is institute a text and/or email notification system. It's inexpensive, it's effective. You could collect the phone numbers or email addresses voluntarily, and the town then is notified of bad weather or accidents, fires, whatever. The second thing is I would really like to see on the agenda that we broadcast live these meetings. And we do it on YouTube Live, and it's automatically out there. Everybody sees it in real time, and it automatically uploads it to the internet. So, and then from there, you can put it on the website. So that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelley. The second one's been tried. It's impossible with our internet speed, but maybe we can revisit that. All right, Patrick Smith.
What is the latest the town will accept candidate applications for the May election?
February 17th at 5 p.m.
Okay. Now, there was some discussion about an extension and that it might be more than 5 days or 5 days or less than 5 days. When are the citizens going to be given that notice or that information?
We go by the state's calendar, the Secretary of State's election calendar, and we cannot extend it. I mean, like I said, there is a time for a write-in candidate. If you miss that deadline of February 17th, you're allowed to be a write-in. But I know of no extension
So the town will not accept any applications after the 17th?
at 5 p.m.
Okay. At the last meeting, the mayor informed the audience that the council will no longer be answering citizens' questions during the citizens' comments on agenda items. When was that decision made?
Under legal advice, I'm not going to answer questions.
Where was that decision made?
Under legal advice, we're not answering questions.
And who was present when that decision was made? So no response, no factual response. And is the thing about not answering citizen questions, that is contrary to the last year and a half of precedent. Why was that decision made?
Got a new attorney.
Pardon?
We have a new attorney.
So the attorney made the decision? I mean, is it a secret? I won't waste any more of your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Jack Sinkovich. Tracy Hibbs.
Tracy Hibbs, County Road 2432. On May the 17th, I emailed Mayor Sekovich about the election information. It wasn't until the 23rd that that information was posted to the public. Now, as a council, you have a duty to uphold all election laws, period. Mr. Anderson, you might not like what people have to say up here, and you can look up the sky and you
You're
can
not to
sleep.
address the council, you're to address me.
No, I don't have to address you.
Yes, you do.
I address the whole council.
No, ma'am.
I
It's in our
won't pick
order.
on him individually.
It's our rules of decorum. You are to address the mayor, and please refrain from singling out a council.
Okay, fine. I singled out you, though.
All the time.
No, I singled out you on the email that you got from me on the 17th of January. But that's okay. Does the council realize that there are 300 ongoing election integrity investigation, one that Poetry's involved in? If you don't, I suggest you go to the State of Texas Secretary of State and get filled in.
Okay, that's the last of our general public comments. The time is now 7:26. Meeting adjourned.